we don't have to call it a loophole, but it is a sort of workaround that is an issue with the ultra wealthy. And well, whatever there are laws created that allows them to pay much less than even an ordinary person does in taxes. And I'll explain to you how it goes. I'm not talking about Amazon, the corporation, but Jeff Bezos, for example, was famously paid something like only $83,000 while he worked there, but the shares and his net worth was a lot higher than that. So while he was paying a lower marginal tax, his net worth was like in the hundreds. I understand it's not cash, but
hold on. You want to play a game?
No. I don't support this, and I don't even support a wealth tax, but I'm saying these are ways
for... It's not a loophole.
It's just a generic term.
There are laws made for the ultra wealthy that it allows them to pay less taxes than a much poorer person.
That's absolutely not true.
Which part of it?
Absolutely not true. First of all, the wealthy pay substantially more taxes on average than if you look at the curve, it's a parabolic curve. The higher the income, the more taxes they pay. In total, I think, what is it, like the top 1% pay something like 47% of all taxes?
Jeff
Bezos pays the same income tax that every American pays. He then pays capital gains tax, and the activists argue that capital gains should be income, and that by not paying the same amount on capital gains as you do on your income, that's a loophole. That's not correct.
Well, as I understand, he hasn't sold a lot of his stocks when he wasn't
allowed to.
Well, when he was employed there.
First of all,
now he has.
Stock is not cash and can't be spent.
Yep.
So you can't claim that he should be taxed on something that's not money. But let's play this game. I have in my hand a tech deck fingerboard that I put together myself. Now, how much do you think someone will be willing to pay for Tim Pool's fingerboard that he actually uses during the show and does ollies with? What do you think?
$350.
$350? Okay.
$5.56.
It's now Ilad's. Ilad, you got to pay the government $100 taxes income because I gave you that. Simply by that being yours, that was cash, that was a transaction. That's how the taxes work. You now owe money on that. That's income.
I guess I'd be in the hole. But Tim, let me ask you. So Jeff Bezos was getting paid $80,000 a year while he was the CEO of Amazon, and he was worth something like hundreds of millions of dollars because of Amazon stock and billions. It depends on
not cash and can't be spent.
I understand. How do you think he should only owe taxes on 83? Calm down, Phil. So you think Jeff Bezos should only owe whatever?
Okay, Elad, how would he pay taxes on money he doesn't have?
I just think there's that's the workaround. So if you have above a certain amount, I think people argue that you should be forced to sell a small amount.
No! Oh my God, Elad, please.
That's the argument. That's not what.
Elad, stop. Just stop. Calm down. Let me explain. If Jeff Bezos could, which he legally can't because there's fiduciary responsibility to a company, meaning one, he has a contract that bars her from selling stock. Okay, unless a certain threshold of stock value is met. Two, if he dumps stock, the stock price collapses and it could cause the company to spiral into a free fall. The stock is used to generate revenue for the company to operate if they're not generating substantial revenues. So if Jeff Bezos was ordered by the government to violate his contract and sell stock so that he could cover the wealth tax they put on it, the company would enter free fall. Everyone would dump the stock overnight. It would become worthless. And then paradoxically, Jeff Bezos' net worth would be $100 million. And then he wouldn't owe those taxes in the first place.
The issue at hand here is that there's clearly an issue with how we're taxing people like this. If you think Jeff Bezos should only owe money on his $83,000 of income while he was working there and not anything on any of the hundreds of millions of dollars that he had in stock and net worth, there's a serious issue there because there are people who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars who are again paying more than Jeff Bezos was at the time.
I gotta stop
and if you don't think there's any issue with somebody like that paying significantly less than again, like people like millionaires, people making millions.
I'm going to mute you if you just keep ranting and saying wrong things over and over again. He did not make cash. There's no income.
I said his net worth.
No, his net worth is paper that exists in a nebulous concept in the mind. Do you know what paper value means?
How much is Jeff Bezos worth?
I think it's $170 billion.
Okay, and when he was CEO of Amazon, what does net worth mean?
What does net worth mean?
It means your culmination of your assets.
Okay, and where does the value of those assets come from?
The demand for them.
And what happens if the government says we are seizing your stock?
The stock value will go down.
And then what does he owe? Nothing?
He'll owe some. The issue is that he should be paying more. The amount
more. What he has no cash.
Okay, Bro. I think he's purposefully setting up his assets in such a way that this will be the net result. And this is what people are talking about when people like Raymond were saying the loophole.
If he
this is the loophole.
Stock,
the loophole is the laws
sells the stock, he has to pay on the gain, on the realized gain of all of the cash he brings in.
Sure, but Tim, you understand that he's purposefully taking a low. He was taking a low income on purpose. He was taking a low salary on purpose to be able to affect this loophole, and that is the issue at hand. No, he purposefully set it up this way so he would
fundamentally misunderstand how any of the corporate structure works in this country. Let's try this. Let's slow down. What is a C corp?
There's like a C corp and an S corp. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know the exact.
You don't know why they exist. Okay, first,
one's for an individual, I believe, and one's for a group. You could go ahead.
Right. So the issue here is, if you don't understand something as basic as like they have B corps now, LLCs, an S corp technically is an LLC, a C corp is as well. There's special classifications. If you don't know what those mean, that's 101. Okay. So if you look to a CEO who's running a company and then you go, he should pay money on money he doesn't have, is what you're saying, because the company he runs is worth a lot of money. We have a problem here where logic has failed. My point is, let's start with, you don't even know what a C Corp is, so let's not play the game of you think Jeff Bezos intentionally took an action to obfuscate his wealth and avoid paying taxes.
You don't think that's what he's doing here?
No.
Oh, that he did? Okay. Then
that is applying malintent to a man who is probably just abiding by tax law as he's instructed by his lawyer.
In order to achieve what? The loophole.
It's not a loophole when you are doing what the law tells you have to do.
Well, I think it's a distinction without a difference. They set up the law in such a way to act as a loophole. There's a loophole.
An individual is doing something maliciously, whereas what's actually happening is he called his lawyer and said, how am I supposed to do this? And they said, based on U.S. tax code 531C, you have to do this, you have to file this, and you have to pay yourself this. When I first started this company, my accountant told me, here's the range at which you can pay yourself. I said, okay. Then I'll just choose a number. We have profits for this company. Profits taxed at a lower margin than employment. So CEOs want to pay themselves less, but there's an expected market value. Here's another thing I don't think you understand. We cannot pay people above market rate. You can try to justify it. You're opening yourself up to an audit. I go to my accountant and I say, hey, we got this guy, he's a big talent. I want to pay him, $1 million. They say, what's his job? Oh, he's a musician. They'll say, do session musicians get paid $1 million? Not often. Okay, you're going to have to justify to the IRS when they audit you why you're paying someone so high above market. You shouldn't do that. I say, oh. See, because the tax code works like this, okay? It's not a loophole when the government passes a law that makes you do these things. The loophole is a term used by activists to go after people who are wealthy and claim they're doing something maliciously when they're doing what they're contractually obligated to do or what the government requires them to do. If the law exists and is solidified, and then a company forms and they say, how do we create a pay structure for the person who runs this company? Well, based on the law, we have to do these 10 things. Okay. And then you come out and go, aha, he's cheating by using a loophole. And he's like, what do you mean? The law was there before we started the company, and my lawyers told me that's how I had to do it.
I think there's an issue with the way our laws in this country are set up to tax, in particular, the ultra wealthy, the top 100, which are in a different scenario than even the top 10,000 people. So there's an issue.
So you're more like a communist.
No.
Well, hold on. You think we should tax people on cash they don't have because there is an ascribed market value in the imagination?
I don't know the exact solution for how to tax people who are in the top 10 amount of wealth, but if you look at the amount they pay compared to the amount that the top 10,000 earners are, the top 10 have worked.
You are wrong. It is substantially higher.
What you're talking about would mean that people that are pensioners that are on fixed income.
I'm talking about top teners.
Stop talking over people. Let me finish. Because what you're talking about is talking about taxing unrealized gains. Is that?
I don't know how else to explicitly say. I'm talking about the top earners and top net worth individuals in our society.
Elad, the method.
That's who I'm talking about.
Elad, stay with me here. The method to do what you're.
Phil, you could have carve-outs. If we're talking about specific people, we could have the law set up in a way.
Pensioners aren't. Here's a Jeff Bezos law and an Elon Musk law, and you're an insane person.
Let's just rein it in. Okay. Elad votes.
What?
Well, I abstained because I try to have
thank God.
journalistic integrity. But if we do want to wrap it back around to this Doge story, I think it's interesting which stories of Doge cutting, what news stories of Doge cutting we choose to pay attention to, because on the left they'll focus on stories like, oh, in the middle of Africa they're cutting healthcare that saved tens of thousands of Africans, and then they talk about that, and they talk about how they're cutting different people, different parks.
Yes. I drew you a picture. Maybe
the picture. Zoom in more.
Maybe the picture can help.
Vision.
This is a graph made by ChatGPT of total taxes paid by income bracket. Why? That's interesting. Total real taxes paid in billions by income bracket, and somehow the wealthiest individuals are paying the overwhelming majority of all taxes.
What percent, I can't see the number, is the wealthiest?
It's not percent, it's $1 million plus.
Okay, I'm talking about like the top net worth individuals, which are different than the top 1%.
That's included. What was Bezos' income per year? Was it 1 million?
No,
was it 1 million?
It was less, but his net worth was in the hundreds of millions.
Elad, it was $1 million.
Okay.
It was 1 million.
So if you look for a more specific graph,
what's 12 divided by 1? What's 1 million divided by 12?
You tell me.
Is it around $80,000?
Okay, Tim.
Jeff Bezos was intentionally paying himself $1 million, plus he was getting an additional $1 million in benefits. Okay. He was getting a $1 million bonus plus $1 million salary.
This isn't talking about like the specific details that I'm trying to explain to you guys about top net worth individuals that are getting bumped into the top 1%.
Everybody understands that you want taxes that are specific to the individual. You just said that.
You must not hear. I'm talking about the top 100 net worth individuals who have completely unique situations.
You're not articulating yourself clearly.
Wait,
you're saying you just said unique situations. That means you want targeted taxes.
So Jeff,
let me finish so I can make sure that I understand. For specific people that make an amount of money that you deem as enough, you want specific tax law for individuals specifically because they make too much. That's unconstitutional, you psychopath. That's unconstitutional.
We have a progressive tax law already,
you
and
want
it's
laws. You want tax law aimed at people that will make people
No. We're going to move on. Okay. We're going to go to the next story, but I'm going to say this. Elad is simply just trying to say anything that gives him the correct position in the argument, even though nothing he said has even aligned with anything he said prior. Right? You just keep changing what you're saying.
No, you guys just aren't listening to what I'm saying. There's specific. I believe in a progressive tax rate, and specifically
let's go one point at a time. What is a progressive tax rate?
The more income that you have, the higher income that you have, the higher percentage that we tax you at.
And how does a progressive tax rate work?
The more income that you earn, there are different brackets. So let's say if you earn, I don't know, up to 50K, it'll be something like 15 to 20%. Then you go to 100K, it'll go up to like 20, 200K, 25. The issue is when
are you saying that if you pay 100K, you would have to pay 30,000 in taxes, but if you paid 50K, you'd pay 5,000 in taxes?
The issue is with the top individuals that I'm talking about specifically that don't pay taxes in a normal way.
And what does that mean, a normal way?
So again, people like Jeff Bezos, where their net worth is bound up in, again, one of some of the biggest companies in the world right now.
Do you have stock?
Yes, I do have stock.
Are you paying taxes on that stock?
When I sell, I do.
Oh, so Jeff Bezos should have to pay when he doesn't sell because...
No, but see, Tim, here's the issue. I'm not comparable to Jeff Bezos in any way. It doesn't make sense to tax me in any similar way that you're going to tax Jeff Bezos. So you're somebody who has...
Okay, all right, slow down.
Yeah, but that's my point.
Slow down. Okay, let's try this again. So you're saying that at a certain level of imagined wealth, that's what it's called, imaginary wealth. It's not there's real wealth and then imaginary. The value of stock is considered imaginary, and that's the actual term. So you believe that there should be a law that states at a level of imaginary wealth, we should take cash from you, real wealth.
So I'm not sure about the specific mechanisms of how the laws will be set up. I think there are issues with how we tax our top net worth individuals in this country. And I think that's plain and obvious.
What issue?
That they pay less than the people.
Well, hold on. I showed you the graph. They don't pay less.
All right. So again, I was telling you, this graph isn't specific enough. So the top 1% is over inclusive to like the top income earners in our country. So within the 1%, there's a 1% issue of the 1%ers.
Elad, you need to slow down. We don't need a higher bracket than $1 million income per year to show that the bracket of 1 million up to infinity pays substantially more taxes than all other income brackets. Despite the fact they make up 1% of tax of the tax base, they are paying somewhere around 60% of all taxes.
I think within the 1%, the 99% pays more A lot more. The 1% of the 1% isn't paying their fair share, I guess.
That is incorrect.
Well, that's your opinion.
It's not an opinion. That's a fact.
You know that Elon.
Do you know what do you pay, like $70 billion or something?
Elon
or $7
Musk
billion?
paid more taxes than any other human in history. In I think it was 2021 or 2022. He the impression that you have, Elon, the impression that you have is not actually reflective.
I think you have a misunderstanding.
11 billion.
I literally tried to articulate your argument back to you, but you were too busy talking over me.
We're gonna go to the next. We're gonna go to the next story. I'll just wrap up by saying Elon Musk paid $11 billion cash taxes in 2021.
How much? 11 billion.
11 billion. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.